Welcome to Fandom Files with OG Flexer. Today we have a wonderful guest, Leadership Lizwi. But before we can get to that, I think it would be appropriate for him to introduce himself.
All right. Hi everyone. My name is Lizwi. First of all, actually, I'd like to thank you, Brotherman OG, for providing me this platform to obviously share my story. But like you said, let me not get ahead of myself, but rather introduce myself first. I, Kamala Mulizwi, I'm a Xhosa guy. I am the chairperson for the Democratic Alliance Student Organization for the year of 2024. In the 2020, we are building branch, and we'll still elect the new leadership come the upcoming year. So yeah, I'm a third year student here at the University of Western Cape, and that's just me, I guess.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. So let's talk about you as an individual before we can get to politics and everything. What was the motive behind the creation of Daso in UwC? Because of if you can check in our institution, we have I think more than 4 political parties. What was the motive?
All right. Like you said, there's obviously individual story to this, which people do not know. So in my first year, I have to take you back to 2023 for you to understand me. Obviously, that I was campaigning for SRC. I was there. I observed particularly the political spectrum, and like you said, there were 3 at the time. It was EFFSC, SASCO, and BASMA. The political structures which were present, and I could have joined easily. But it got to a point, Choguti, I realized that not everyone was invested in politics. The student activism was very low, and it didn't represent the entire population of UwC. So I decided, let me bring the blue color, which is obviously known for its diverse nature. You get me? Because it's easily the most diverse political party in South Africa right now. So that's what inspired me. Besides the fact that I'm passionate about politics, which is one thing youngsters don't actually have.
Yeah. So okay, since now we have Daso in our institution, do you think Daso, if it happens that it gets affiliation or if it gets to the position of SRC, what type of change that are you willing to bring to the student when it comes to accommodation crisis? As you know that accommodation is a crisis for every year.
Oh yes. No, that's a very interesting question, Puti. But like you said, if we get affiliated, that's not a barrier for us to get involved, because yes, like you've mentioned, we are not yet affiliated and we've applied for affiliation. We were unsuccessful in the previous year, but I won't disclose too much about that, and this year we are hoping to get affiliation. But yes, despite us not being affiliated, it is, if you follow our social media, obviously we've been very much involved in UwC politics from 2023. The gender-based violence incidents, we raised awareness about gender-based violence, and we were there who hosted the first protest in 2023. Excellent, no problem, thank you, man. And then, so just to answer your question about accommodation crisis, I'd like you to obviously, whenever you got your free time, to scroll through our social media, that we have released statements, and we've also marched to Parliament alongside Daso, UCT, and Stellenbosch to obviously demand the Minister of Higher Education to address the issues which students face, which are accommodation, funding, and clearances.
Yes.
So we are definitely not waiting on the affiliation, and we are well and active, and we are willing to go to do the absolute most to obviously get students sorted and help those who entrust us, and also fight for like I said, the vast majority, regardless of your race or demographic.
Oh, okay, that's wonderful. So does Daso have political members on the ground?
Listen, Mr. OG, the reason I came here actually is to obviously, yes, participate in the podcast, but most importantly, I'd like to obviously share my message clearer to you and to your audience, and possibly anyone who has questions, obviously, about the brand I represent, which is Daso, which is ultimately linked to the DA. So I just want to know, what do you think about the DA, or what idea do you have about them? What have you heard about them? And what do you think about them as a political organization, obviously not sugarcoating. And in fact, if you have questions about us, please ask away, and I will do my absolute best to answer.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I think my question, and I think this question goes for everyone. Personally, the AO, if you can take a look, is mostly like them dominated by white. So my question is that, does Daso include every race, or is mainly focusing on the white perspective? Yeah, that's my question.
All right. Short answer and the easiest answer. No. No, it's not, Botiman. The DA, first of all, like I said, it's the most diverse political organization, which can bother, obviously, its oppositions, particularly the EFF, ANC, or whatever, That's simply because, not that I'm claiming that the other opposition represent a certain minority or a certain group of people. No, I'm not saying that EFF represents black people or anything, but the DA is very diverse, and to some degree it may bother some people, if it doesn't benefit their group, if it does not benefit. So to answer your question very clearly, is that the DA is not a white party. That's a propaganda spread by, unfortunately, the political game. We know politics is a dirty game, and that's true. The EFF will never at any point compliment the DA about its diversity. So was the ANC. And it's very funny that every time, obviously, a list of leadership is taken out, I quote our chairperson, Helen Zoll. She was like, every time a list is taken out of the DA, it's the only political organization that's going to be interrogated about its diversity. And that should give you an idea that there's black, there's white, there's Indian, there's colored. Everyone fits in the leadership, and that it is represented on the ground too. In the election march, the DA hosted its march, its outdoor march to Pretoria. I forgot the Union buildings.
Yeah.
And there were like 16,000, even 60,000, people there, and about 80% of them were black. So I don't know what you're gonna talk about when you tell me that they are white. No, it's not.
So what's the ideology behind Daso?
No, listen, we are simply an extension of the DA. That's one thing people need to understand. The same way we are their babies. The same way EFFSC is the baby of EFF, SASCO, it's linked to the ANC. So yes, man, like I said, our values are pretty much aligned to the values of EDA, which, like I said, it's opportunity, it's liberalism, it's equality, and obviously academic success. It's like, I have to emphasize the opportunity, that the liberal and opportunity that everyone must be given the platform, regardless of your race, regardless of your gender, regardless of, like I said, your demographic. You must be given the exact equal opportunity to achieving something, whatever that might be. That business opportunity should not be only accessible to someone who is disadvantaged to a degree, but the disadvantaged person must have the same opportunity as someone who you'd say is more privileged, just as long as they meet the requirements. Espanin and Noxizela, because you have a broken arm. Unfortunately, it scares us away. So now, what would your message be? Obviously, I'm a people see me as a politician. So they think this is my job, I'm lying or whatever. When as a neutral, a presenter, obviously, who's, like you said, you've heard from MK, you're hearing from me today, which I appreciate. What would you say to students who are still scared of politics and don't want to be involved?
Okay, what I'm gonna say is that politics is not about the propaganda, as they say, or hooligans, as they have said. This year they were saying the politics of children politics are hooligans. How can they do this and that? No, politics is not about that. Politics, actually, student politics is about helping those who are having challenges. Remember, because of institutions, when it comes to the institutions, you are very far from home. For an example, there are students that are coming from far provinces. You come to an institution, you don't have an accommodation. So in that specific manner, the comrades are the ones that are willing to help. Other than that, you cannot go to the management straight. They will tell you have to make an interview, you have to make an appointment. How can you make an appointment as the first year?
Which they sometimes don't even respond to.
You see,
because there's so many people.
They will tell you email. How many emails that person get in a day?
Yeah.
You see, so the companies are the only closest part that can help if you're having any challenges with financial aid, if you're having problems with accommodation and so on. Yeah. So my message is that every student needs to be active in politics, not for propaganda, but to be aware on what's going on our campus. Because of the more you get active on politics, that's where you get to understand what's actually going on our institution.
All right, no, I agree with that. But now, don't you think me approaching, let's say, comrade, you know, don't you think do you think politics would be more accessible, or would it represent the majority if they, let's say, it took an oil political stance? I want to hear you, and I also have a response to this. So do you think it scares people when I approach them wearing a DA shirt, or when someone is approached by an EFF? A good example is, let's say, or what I've seen, let's say there's some kind of people who don't feel included in the EFFSC or EFFYL youth league now, you know. So do you think that scares away, or it kills student activism to a degree? Or do you think it's necessary for us to obviously wear our regalia when helping students?
Yeah, personally, I think it's important for you to wear a regalia so that we know what you represent. But there are those ones, when they see you wearing a regalia, you know, they just label you as a danger because of this, that propaganda behind the comrades, that, okay, if you see this one is a comrade, I just know there's a problem.
Yeah.
Because of, if I'm not sure if you're aware, if you can go to any faculty or department wearing a regalia, deep down they know that this one is a problem.
Yeah.
See? If you go to if you can go to any office wearing a regalia, even if you're just going there to see your lecture, but for the fact that you're wearing a regalia, they see you as a threat because they know that you're coming here for a problem.
Yeah.
Which in many circumstances is not your problem. You're just going there for answers.
Yeah, and you're just wearing
your regalia
for fashion's sake in some situations.
So yeah.
No, that's a very interesting point, and like I said, I'm gonna respond to that, and then no, I agree with you. I think it's very much important that we obviously have an identity.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
It is obvious, like it. If we were to take a stance where we're saying we must not wear regalia, it would be like saying policemen should not wear police uniforms. You see.
Yeah.
So you summed it up very well, that we must obviously represent a certain people.
Yeah.
But at the same time, in our situation as Daso, we are trying to be as very inclusive. We are an inclusive political organization. We are, like I said, liberal. And those are our biggest values: opportunity, you know, and academic success.
Yeah.
Not that I'm saying anything about the other political organizations, because I wouldn't know, I'm not involved in them, you know. So yes, man, I'm very happy that obviously you, as a rather neutral, have interest in politics, because like I said, the youth, it's very discouraging. And one thing I'd like to leave them with is,
I was still asking about Daso as a political organization, that are you guys diverse when it comes to gender equality?
Yes. We 100% are about it. Like I said to you before, obviously the temporary disruption is that it's in our constitution. You know, people don't like reading, but if you read our constitution, you'll get to know us better. That we are very much diverse. Like we said, we are liberal. So we believe that everyone is entitled to the same opportunities, regardless of gender, your race, or any demographic altogether. So in SRC, we definitely look to have females representing us. We definitely look to have colored, white, or black, Xhosa, whichever culture you're from. You know, that's what we aim to do, which will ultimately represent the vast majority of the campus community. Yeah.
So leadership, to some of us who don't know, like Daso constitution, you know, I think we are dying to know. Give us some highlights of the constitutions that I can think, we might need to know.
All right, now, man. I think obviously it's worth reintroducing us, because that's where you start. It starts with the introduction that we are the Democratic Alliance Student Organization, which was mainly founded obviously by myself and a group of UWC students who felt that not everyone was being represented in the political spectrum on UWC. You know. We know that only 6,000 out of 25,000 students actually pitch up to vote for elections. So it's about introduction, which tells you that we are, like I said, we follow core values of equality, of liberalism, of opportunity, and which is and inclusivity. Yes, most importantly. and then you can go over there and start reading our, let's say, requirements for memberships. We definitely do have memberships, which I will recommend you sign and you get yourself one. It's for a year, it's free. You join our branch and you can definitely be one of us, and pushing our movement to building a more inclusive campus, And then obviously there's seats up for grabs. It explains the structures, the branch executive committee if you want to be involved, if you want to be involved in SRC, etc. Yeah.
Okay. That's interesting. So, for a manifesto, do you have like a mandate for a manifesto that you can think present to the students that are in Daso currently, especially the first year? Because remember, some of them they don't have in mind what's actually going on. So, I think you can maybe present a manifesto for first year so that if perhaps the series video they know what's going on.
It's a very dangerous question, this one you're asking, because in manifesto I can spend an hour. We are politicians, but we are aspiring politicians. So yes, one thing I can say about a manifesto, or like you said, a manifesto, how we conduct our manifesto is that for our members we usually have a joint manifesto drafting, meaning that all who want to join our political party and be involved will have a chance to share their ideas. But for the first years and for the annual problem of accommodation, like you said, it's a big one. It's funding, clearances, UWC management should do better to communicate these issues, because we can expect that next year there's going to be another crisis of homelessness. We can expect that students will not be cleared. So it's about preparing in advance, being as proactive as possible to communicate to all the students who are being accepted as of next year, as soon as possible, that they must not arrive in UWC without arrest, and explain that how the system works, because some don't know that by the time they get here, yes, bed spaces are available, they are empty, but students are entitled to those because some don't need to travel. They receive the OTP and they have a couple of days to accept it. Then they have a couple of days to check in. Those things need to be transparent, and that student leaders must also not make politics about it. We must explain it to them how things work. And that's our manifesto, is that we're going to be an SRC that fights for you, that keeps you informed, and that we are transparent and honest with what we can and cannot do.
Yeah.